Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, divas out there. You've just tuned into the Divas That Care Network. My name is Candace Gish, and I thank you so much for tuning in today. If this is your first time, welcome. And to all of our returning divas listening, thank you so much. It's because of you that we continue our show, and we're really excited. You know, ladies, I was just talking to our guest a minute ago here and, trying to explain what our show is all about. And it's amazing. I have to think back. And, to be doing our show now for 8 years, we're pretty fortunate. I'm just very grateful to all of our listeners that have allowed me to interview more and more women all the time, because it's just been a pleasure. And I get to meet amazing women that I can bring onto the show. And today I'm going to be bringing on Anna Mattel, and she's going to be sharing a little bit about her life and the things that she's doing too. So just to kind of let you guys know, for any of you that are just tuning in today, our show is our recorded show. So we have our links that you can forward on to all your friends and family, people that you think that are really going to love our shows. And we want you to know that all of our shows are recorded, and they're up on our website at divasthatcare.com. And you can also check out all of our other amazing diva hosts that have great shows out there too. So as I was saying, I have an amazing lady, Anna Mattel, coming on our show. She's going to be sharing a lot with you guys today, so I'm going to be having her come on in a second here and introduce herself. So Anna, I'm so excited. Welcome to the Divas That Care today.
Well, thank you for having me, Candace.
Well, I'm excited. I've had the opportunity to quickly chat with you, but I want you to, Anna, if you could spend a couple of minutes, let's get to know you. I want to welcome you to our Diva family, but spend about a couple of minutes here letting us know who you are.
Okay, yeah, no, not a problem. So my name is Anna, and I am the founder of Empower Advisors, Inc., and I created Empower in 2004 with the dream of just having my own business, staying at home, being flexible, being part of my children's lives, and it just came to me when I had to go back to work, and I couldn't leave my kids. My son was like, I like it when you come home, or when I come home from school and you're home. So I felt like, wow, they really want me. So I created Empower Advisors. So part of my background was I was a social worker for over 15 years, working in the foster care system and children's services. So a lot of my work was very heavy and very tiring, and I thought there has to be something better I can do than just this. I was getting really tired of the politics and the full-time hours. And so I decided to STEM into mediation. I took training. So Empower Advisor is a mediation private practice. And basically all I do is resolve conflict with different parties, which is awesome, because that's exactly what I needed to do in my life. I needed to be a part of that resolution with people, encourage people to find conflict, to resolve conflict, and preserve their relationships. And I love that for me in my life. And I can't even tell you that I really learned a lot about myself after doing this training. I have so much more better relationships with my people. I have better arguments with my husband. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it.
Yeah, I just love that conflict.
And Anna, I think it's amazing, because we don't realize how important communication is. And if we're not communicating properly, we just think that's when things happen. Like we need to understand, we need to get our point across. But yeah, if we're not communicating in the right way, then that's when all the fighting happens. That's when everything happens. And I love that, because you're able to sit down with individuals, you're able to help them with that communication process, and so that if they're in regards to even with marriages, because that's a huge thing. There's divorces happening all the time now, because I think it's that breakdown, that lack of communication, because nobody knows how to talk to each other anymore.
Oh, it's true. I think a lot of people, especially now social media, technology has taken over. I think people are talking less to each other. So when they're talking less, they're communicating less. Regardless of texting or anything, text has no tone. Text has no body language.
Yep.
The other party is assuming conversation and how the tone is. And that can create conflict. but the shift that can happen when two people are open to hearing each other is just amazing. It's just amazing. My focus is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, so do you do a lot? I know that you're probably doing a lot of one-on-one because that's or working within that group dynamics of the two people. But is there, I'm curious about this, is there like couples retreats? Like, I don't know if that's even something that people would do, but is that like a thing that, you know, you can see how other people are kind of interacting with others too? Or do you think it's because it's a very personal thing that it's better just to do, you know, the individuals that are involved?
That's a good question. I think a lot of my clients that are couples, they do tend to want to keep it under wraps. So they're very private. So I was thinking about collaborating with someone in regards of a retreat for couples, so then they can have a whole thing of whole whack weekend of communication. But for the most part, most of the couples like to keep it more private, just because I think we're still living in a world of shame, and you know, people who contemplate divorce don't want to say they're contemplating divorce because it's the shameful thing, and people don't want to know that they're fighting with their husband because it's shameful. So we're living in a world of shame, and we're hiding under, and we're scared to reach out to people who can help us.
Oh, and that just breaks your heart, doesn't it? Because we're supposed to be living in a more open world and open society where everything seems to be okay with things, but yet when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of things, we're still very private, very, like you're saying, you're using the word shame, embarrassed. We don't want to really show who we really are. And that's hard. You know, we're living in such a very open society now, but yet we're very private, I guess, in that way. And I think if we were to learn how to communicate better with one another, we would be able to, like you were saying earlier, we can communicate not just with, you know, our spouses. We can work with like our partner, like our business partners, with our children, with so many people. So I'm going to break this down a little bit. How can you work with it? Because obviously you don't just work with couples. You're working with individuals. Is this something, I don't know, do you offer like a webinar out there that, okay, we're going to be talking about how to communicate, how we work through things. Is that something that you do with people too?
Oh, for sure. Usually my go-to format is workshops. I love workshops. And so I do have a recurring communication workshop that is for the general public, and I have one specifically for separation and divorce, and I have one specifically for couples. So I do offer workshops. I am in the works of doing something online webinar, so keep an eye out on that. It'll happen. I think it's a tool that everyone needs to have. And maybe a retreat is in the future.
Well, and I think that's wonderful. You know, a lot of our listeners are throughout, you know, North America into Europe, and I know that you are based in Alberta, in Edmonton specifically. And I just thought, okay, well, how can our ladies out there that do tune into our show, how can they work with somebody like you? Because I think that's really important. With today's society, you know, we do a lot of stuff online. We shop online. We do courses online. That's kind of how we live, especially when a lot of us don't necessarily live in the same community as the people that we want to aspire to be around. So I like that. I like that you offer. You're going to be doing stuff like that. And I do question. Like, I had the opportunity to kind of read your the stuff that you had sent me in regard before our show here, and I love one thing that you're going to be coming up with and you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing a couples vision board party. And I think this is so cool because I want you to talk about that because I love that. I've been doing vision boards for years now, and I have a vision board that, and it's funny because I've left it on my wall for years now, and I look, I'm like, oh, wow, all these things are happening, and, you know, it's manifested over the years. But I want to talk about the importance of doing a couples vision board and why you're doing that. And how can people that maybe can't attend your workshop or that you're going to be doing, how can they do it at home?
Okay, not a problem. So the couples vision board came to me when I was thinking about my next workshop, and I thought I would like to do something with couples. And the vision board was exactly what I needed. So the purpose of the vision board with the couples is that they both work on one board together. And what I want them to take away from it is that they're both in alignment of their relationship. They both want the same thing. And even if one wants a little bit more than the other, this is where their resolution skills come to play. And then they start collaborating together and compromising as to what they want, what they don't want, and how they can meet in the middle. So this is where I come in and help them and encourage them to have that conversation. He wants the big red Porsche. She wants the SUV. We start getting into it. Why is that important? What is it about the red Porsche that you need? And what is it about the SUV that you need? So they start opening up more and figuring out why they want what they want. And then they start kind of collaborating and coming up with a solution to meet both needs. And
oh my goodness, Anna, I think this is you're on a gold mine here, because what a fantastic thing, because you don't think about that. A vision board for me, what I've always learned over the years, is a very personalized thing that, my goals, my aspirations, things that I want to work on. But I absolutely love that you think that a couple could do it, because it is. I think about, while we're talking, I'm thinking about my husband and the things that he likes. I'm like, okay, how would this vision board look if I sat down with my husband and did that? Because I know that our goals and our dreams are different, but is there a way that we can come together? And then I was thinking, oh my goodness, you could do this with your family, like a family vision board. And you can have, okay, what is our family vision board? What do we see as our family for, the coming year, the coming future? What is it we want to accomplish together? And wow, what a great thing you're doing, Anna. This is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think that everyone needs that vision with their husband, because after the I do's, there's a future that has to be made. We got to make sure it's the future that they both want. And if they don't, then that's the communication breakdown that happens. So, so for anyone else that's not in Edmonton, so a couples vision party, I will have it up on my website soon in regards of instructions. But in any case, if you're outside, then you're going to grab your materials for vision board, and you're going to set a time frame, whether it's 3 to 5 years or 10 years, and that's exactly how you're going to formulate your vision board, 3, 5, or 10 years. And if you come into an impasse with your husband, you sit down, or your partner, you sit down and you have a discussion. Don't be a dream squasher, and be open to any possibilities. And that's the formula for a couples board party.
Oh, I love it. Well, Anna, you're going to have to send us the details on that when you're done. I'm going to be posting it on all of our social media, because I think it's really important. And just listening to you, I understand now. I would never have thought of that. Honestly, until you came onto the show today, I never would have thought of, oh, I should do this with my husband, or I should do this with my kids, or I should do this, even with, I think you could do this within a business. What is our vision for our business for the next 3, 5, 10 years? Because I've always been such a visual person. So when vision boards and everybody started doing that, I thought, oh, I get it. I understand that, because I can see that in my head. And doing that in groups, that is just a powerful thing, and especially if you can kind of like, hey, this is our what a communication and everything, and you've kind of built it all in together, right? You're working with your conflict resolution, you're doing, and your people are seeing, okay, I understand. Tell me why you want this. Tell me this. Tell me that, and get to know each other. And you should almost even. I like that, because, when you're talking about this, I think this is something that people should do right exactly before they even get married. What are our goals? What are our dreams? What do we want to accomplish in our marriage? I wish somebody would have said that, years ago before I got married, because that would have made, probably especially in the early years of my marriage, is, okay, I understand this is who you are. Maybe I would have been more lenient. Maybe we wouldn't have had those conflicts arise when they did. Oh, I just love this. This is such a fantastic thing you're doing, Anna.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that, and so August 31st in Edmonton. The location still to be arranged, but till end of the month I'll be presenting that couples vision board, and I already have another party happening already. So my son wants in. My son's like, let's do one for teens. So my son is 17 years old, and he's very focused, and he wants a teen vision board party. So So that's going to be happening.
Isn't that great?
Soon.
I know that our divas are probably listening right now. They're like, oh, my goodness, what is she doing? And they're getting excited because I get a lot of texts during our shows, and I've already gotten quite a few now, and I think that is just great because I think that's what people are looking. They're looking for something a little different. How are we going to do this different? And vision boards are such a big thing nowadays, and you can definitely do that. But I definitely like what you do offer, though, besides the vision boards. Like, I think it's important when you're doing your one-on-one coaching, you do the group coaching, and, you know, communication and conversations, I think it's a great thing. And you said over time, too, with yourself, it's gotten better. So maybe we can we can talk about some tips and stuff for our listeners today. What kind of things can they do to help improve their communications with people around them?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of people don't know how to ask quality questions, and I think we're in a world where we always want a deep conversation. We're always living on the surface. And so open up your questions with how, what, where, when, but never why. Why becomes a very defensive word. So you're going to try to ask these quality questions using those 4 words: how, when, where, why, or not why, where, and you're going to just really start to delve deeper, ask more questions. Listening, active listening is another thing, and people listen but don't always listen because their mind is always wandering, or if they're checking their phone, they're worried about the phone call, a phone call they're waiting for. So active listening is really, of course, it's just listening to the person, but just reiterating back what they said. Okay, so I heard you say that you're going to the zoo tomorrow. That way the other person knows you're listening. A lot of arguments tend to start when the other person doesn't acknowledge the person's feelings or emotions or conversation. So you can really just avoid fighting if you acknowledge the person's feelings. So if I say, you know, I'm really upset you didn't come to my work today, you'll say, I hear that you're upset that I didn't come to your work today, and this was my reason. So acknowledging a feeling, just really you get to avoid arguments. And as far as communication goes, be open and transparent, and try to use I words than opposed to you. So I feel like this when you do that, instead of you make me feel, because no one has that control over you. No one makes you feel anything. This is the way you're feeling, and they need to understand that this is how they're feeling, or you're feeling, but using the I words, right? So you're going to just be very careful with choosing your words. And like I said, ask more questions. If you're not sure, just keep on asking more questions. You'll get deeper and deeper once the questions start getting stronger and stronger. And then those kind of things take a lot of practice.
So Anna, for those individuals out there, I was going to say, for those individuals out there that don't communicate, they kind of seem to clam up. You know, we come across people that just as soon as you start talking, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I feel that you're going to do something. How do you almost, I shouldn't say that, but how do you break that barrier so that they are going to start communicating with you, so they don't just not say anything at all?
Well, when someone is shut down to communication, you're going to have to ask those questions of what happened to them, right? Because everything doesn't pop up wherever. This is something that's stemming from an experience they had, right? So working with a therapist and recognizing if they have a social anxiety or not. So there are a lot of different barriers why a person was shut down, and it's a work that one has to do within themselves. So as a conflict coach, what I do is I help people prepare for hard conversations, and when I do that, and when I come across to a person that is breaking down and cannot communicate, I just ask her a bunch of questions, and I have to let her know, and she has to give me permission to ask questions that are uncomfortable. And slowly by slowly figuring out what happened, what was the first initial experience of a bad conversation that led her to be very anxious at this present time, just about asking really good questions and looking and having them role play with me as to what a good conversation looks like.
I think that's fantastic, and I like that because that is a wonderful way to work with somebody. Okay, so we're gonna talk here. Anna, one of the things that I like to tell our listeners too is that I want them to be able to get a hold of you. I know that you do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and for any of the people that aren't in Edmonton, will you work with them like over the phone, Skype, things like that?
Yeah, no, I do Zoom, and I do offer Zoom and Skype, so that I have worked with people outside of Edmonton before, and that is always available for one-on-one coaching.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's leave your information with our listeners right now. How can they get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so I'm on social media, so I'm on Facebook at Empower Advisors Inc., and I am at instagram.com//Empower, MPOWER, and this is my website, www.empoweradvisors.ca.
Excellent. And Anna, is there any last-minute things that you'd like to leave our listeners today?
I think that what's the most important part of communication, or part of even avoiding just conflict, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is conflict is not a bad thing, and people should start accepting conflict as part of their lives. Conflict is part of our life, and it promotes growth and understanding. And I think that's the most important thing that has to be taken away after a conflict, whether workplace conflict or personal conflict, that there's a lot that you can take away. And if you have that conversation with someone and really be open and just don't guard your feelings too much, you'll be able to preserve that relationship, because you will see something in them that you haven't before once you sit down and have that conversation with that person. So conflict can be very valuable.
I love that tip, because isn't that so the truth? If we don't live an experience, we don't do an experience, we're not going to grow as individuals, and we're not going to learn. We can't be stagnant in any way. And so to have those communications, and we're always going to learn, right? We're always going to meet new people out there that are not going to agree with what we say at all times. And I think to understand and what you're teaching us today is when we can communicate and learn or understand what a person is saying, and we also learn about ourselves, and that makes us grow as individuals. And this, oh my goodness, Anna, this was such a great call today. I had so much fun. I learned so much. I'm excited about the things that you're doing, and I hope that you will come back on our show again and share more with us.
Oh, definitely. I will love to come back and have another chat with you, Candace, and I really appreciate the time you've given me today. Very blessed. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. We had a great time. And ladies, all of our divas out there, make sure that you check out Anna. I'm going to be posting a whole bunch of stuff on our social media. And when Anna shares some other stuff with us, I will definitely be forwarding that on to all of you too, because I love what she's doing, and I hope that you definitely connect with her. To all of our amazing listeners, make sure, as I was saying earlier, to check out our divasthatcare.com to listen to all of our amazing diva hosts out there. We now have 10 hosts, and I'm so excited about what the future is going to hold for all of them. They are going to be doing some great interviews coming up here, so you make sure you check them out. Anna, again, thank you so much for being my guest. We look forward to having you again, and we look forward to, I hope that each and every one of you takes a little bit of something away from all of our shows, and to make sure that you do something. I always tell people to do something kind for somebody else. We're all about here at Divas That Care Network to empower and inspire, and we hope that you go out there and inspire others to make the world a better place. So thanks to each and every one of you, and I hope that all of you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.